Okay, great. So, hi everyone. Super nice to see everyone. My name is Radhika. I am a Terra instructor. I actually taught for the whale sharks cohort, and I myself, like so many others, I also was a Terra fellow. Actually, this time last year, I was part of the salamanders cohort. So I am very familiar with exactly where you are in the course and kind of what's going around in your head in terms of transitioning to the climate sector. So I've designed today's session to really go over tips and best practices in this job search. And then we'll also have some time for Q&A at the end if anyone has questions or just wants to discuss anything that we went over. So let me start by sharing my screen. Can I get a thumbs up? Can folks see that? Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so for today, we're actually going to start with a quick storytelling exercise to kind of get everyone moving on the process of how to tell your story. I'll go into career transition tips and tricks, and then I actually will be talking a little bit about the Terra Careers course that we're running right now. It's actually the first time that we're offering this course. I think everyone has received an email, but I'll be talking a little bit more about that in depth. So again, just wanted to touch on a little bit about my background. So as I mentioned, I was part of the salamanders cohort and I taught for whale sharks. But the reason why I'm super excited to be teaching this today and speaking with you all is because I'm a career coach. I coach individuals, I coach people and groups on how to transition into different industries. I specialize in how to help people transition into the tech industry, social impact, and climate. And I am currently doing this with Terra, but I also do this with another company called General Assembly. And I take on private coaching clients as well. And all of this is very much informed by my own career. I consider myself a serial career changer. I've worn a lot of different hats, have switched positions a lot. And so I have a lot of experience myself with how to navigate those transitions. So I'm excited to just share a little bit more about my own journey, but also the best practices that I've seen when coaching other people and how to navigate this yourself. So with that, let me actually put everyone into breakout rooms first so we can shake it up a little bit. So we're going to start with the storytelling activity. So this is really geared towards, when you're networking, when you're introducing yourself in interviews. Let's start with this practice session on how do you best answer that question of tell me about yourself, or what's your story? So the framework that we'll be using is to answer these four questions in a succinct way. What do I do? What I want to do? Who do I want to help? And a climate topic that I'm passionate about. And all of this can absolutely be done in 2 to 3 sentences. You can say it pretty quick while still going into detail and sharing information about yourself. So an example I have here is I work in finance as an accountant and I want to pivot into climate to work on circular economy solutions. I want to help companies trying to pivot their supply chain management to be more circular. And I also enjoy teaching people about how to adopt circular consumption practices in their daily lives. That is a very succinct way of telling your story. And that can be used on your LinkedIn. It can be used in interviews and in a variety of ways. So let's go ahead and practice that. I'm actually going to give everyone 3 minutes to just put your story together. And then I will put you into breakout rooms of 2 to 3 people, and you'll have 10 minutes to practice that. So let me drop the framework into the chat really quick. Go ahead and write it down, type it out, whatever you'd like, but I'll give you 3 minutes to put this together. And for folks who just joined, take a look at the slide that's being shared. And we're just taking a few minutes to put together to answer these questions on the slide. What do I do? What do I want to do? Who do I want to help? And a climate topic I'm passionate about. Okay, great. So I hope everyone had a good time with that activity. I actually would love to take a poll to hear kind of how that went for people. I also know, the purpose of putting this in right now is that I know that everyone's stories might be a little rough. And if that's the case, that is absolutely okay because this is just the first time that we're practicing. So I wanted to kind of take a poll. How did everyone feel about that? Did you feel like you did really well? Do you think that your pitch or story could use some polishing, or was that really hard for you? Feel free to drop an emoji in the chat or even unmute to share, but let me know how that went for you. Okay, I'm seeing my pitch could use some polishing.
I'll jump on and say that I wrote something really quickly, and then when I tried to deliver it live, I stumbled all over myself and started putting in caveats live.
Yes, that also tends to happen. But yeah, that's all in the practice. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So it looks like everyone's kind of in my pitch could use some polishing. That's a great place to be because that means that you've already figured out some of what you want to say and you just need to narrow it down or polish it up. So that's a great option and opportunity to be in. And also, Bianca, thanks for sharing. Yeah, you all are in this cohort. So if you ever want to practice with each other, you absolutely can. So let me share my screen again. So yeah, so again, that was really just to kind of warm people up and kind of start that process of how do you craft your story for the job search. In this next section, I'm going to go over a little bit more about the actual practical steps and tips for your job search. And towards the end, I'll be talking about what's coming up with the careers course, which is just a 4-week add-on to the current course that you're in. And if you need help with telling your story, that is absolutely something that we're going to be going over in the careers course as well. So something I always like to talk about when I'm coaching people is I always like to start with this concept around the spheres of control. When you are job searching, I can give you all the steps. I can give you a lot of resources. You can have tons of community support. You can have a lot there. But one thing that's really important to keep in mind throughout your job search is looking at your spheres of control. Look at what is within my control, then what is within my influence, and then really take a hard look at what is completely outside of my control. This is really important. And this whole locus of control tactic comes from cognitive behavioral psychology, and it is specifically used to help people move past blockers. So I mention this because in the realm of your job search, there are a lot of things that are outside of your control at the end of the day. And so what will help you move forward in your job search is truly focusing on what is within your control and influence. And these are all things like polishing up your resume, fixing up your LinkedIn, networking regularly, utilizing the resources that you have to their fullest, and applying to jobs and following up with people. These are all things that are within your control. And so I definitely recommend and always like to encourage people when you start your job search, really think about what's within your control and influence and hone in on that. Focus on that and the actions that you can take that are around that. And that will also help you stay resilient through the job search. So with that, let me jump right into practical steps to your job search. So as a career coach, these are things that I'm coaching people on every day. And this is kind of, I've identified steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but in reality, all of these things are very much bleeding into the other. I always like to recommend people start by identifying your non-negotiables because that's going to inform what types of jobs you look for. And from there, you can then tailor your application materials, your resume, your LinkedIn. And then you'll be able to network better once you have really an idea of the types of jobs and companies you want to apply for. And then I put applying to jobs all the way at the end because If you do all of these 4 things really well, especially networking, you might not even have to apply to jobs. If you are using your network, if you're going through warm introductions in that way, you might not have to submit a single application because you've got people looking out for you and you've got referrals coming in. So with that, let me start by talking a little bit about non-negotiables. And one thing that I want to share is that I have this resource that I've created. Oh, and also I'm seeing this question. So Vandana, let me answer your question really quick. What do you mean when it says it's a marathon? So the job search is oftentimes a marathon and not just a sprint. There are all sorts of different things that might be factors in how long it takes you to land a climate job. I would say with Tara, what we've observed is that it normally takes 3 to 8 months for people to land climate jobs. This varies a lot. Some people land climate jobs during their Learning for Action course. Some people land immediately after. Sometimes it also can take 3 to 8 months. So I do want to share that, this is not an immediate process. And there's a lot of different factors in there. So that's what I mean by it's a marathon, not a sprint. So you definitely want to make sure that you're focusing on the actions you can control and maintain that vision as you're moving through this, depending on how long it takes you. Yeah, so in terms of identifying your non-negotiables, this worksheet that I've shared is a really helpful resource to help you kind of go through the questions that you need to ask yourself in order to first identify what type of job you're even looking for. What type of role do you want to be in, and what is the environment that you want to be in that job as well? So there's all sorts of questions here, but they're also all listed in this worksheet. But important, really what I want to say here is that in order to find a job that aligns with your needs, interests, and goals, you first have to identify what those are. So these are a few questions you can ask yourself. I'm always a fan of being a bit retrospective and introspective here, of looking at what are the past jobs that I've had, or maybe even past educational experiences or volunteer roles. Look at those and really take a look at what did I enjoy here? What did I hate about this job? What didn't serve me? And list out those things. You can also look at what are some important values to me and how do I see them reflected in the workplace. I do want to call out here that so many of us are pivoting to climate because we see an intense need to heal the earth, the planet, and ourselves. So many of us are healing from burnout. So many of us have experienced unfortunate workplace situations. And so in my coaching, I'm speaking with so many people that are finding some healing within the climate space. So that's really important to consider. If you've experienced burnout, how are you going to make sure that you don't enter into another environment that burns you out again? So that's why these values are really important as well. You can also take a hard look at, what are my salary requirements? Where is the location? All of those things are important to list out in your non-negotiables. And then, of course, looking at what types of climate sectors do I want to be in? What types of roles do I want to be in? And also considering this question of, do I want to make a functional shift, an industry shift, or both? And I do want to touch on that a bit. What I mean by that is a functional shift is a change in your role. So maybe you're going from a developer to like a web developer to like a program manager, or maybe you're going from like a researcher to a technologist. Like there's all sorts of combinations here. So that could be a functional shift. And then there's the industry shift. I think that applies to most people here since you're shifting into climate. But I do want to share that there's also a lot of complementary roles that people are shifting into. Like, for example, I spoke with someone recently who is shifting from solar. They do solar sales work, but then they want to shift into doing user experience design within the solar industry. So that's still same industry, but a functional shift. Now, one thing I want to touch on here is that there are some career coaches. I think there's some interesting language around this of if you decide to make these shifts, some people say that it's best to not do both. It's actually like a really hard thing to try to make both a functional and an industry shift. And I'm definitely here to tell you that is true. I have done that and it was extremely difficult. But at the same time, I want to say that it's possible. And it will require maybe a little bit more time and a little bit more focus, but you absolutely can do it. But that is just something to keep in mind. Take a look at what types of roles you're looking at and the industries you're looking at. And if you are making a functional and an industry shift, you definitely should kind of level set with yourself of what are all the things that I'll need to do to make that shift. And if there's anything that you can do to ease that transition, maybe pick up some volunteer work to help fill those gaps in that functional shift or the industry shift. Things like that can really help ease that process as well. The next step is research and reflection. So I always recommend, once you've figured out your non-negotiables, the next best step would be to look at what are the climate solutions I want to work on if I have the sectors identified, or, during this Xerus cohort, what were some climate challenges that really interested me the most, and what can I, what types of opportunities are there? So you can research jobs that are aligned to that. You can look at companies or organizations. And here's also a few more resources here. When you're looking at those questions, you can review Project Drawdown's table of solutions to see if anything speaks to you there. Then when you're looking at, what types of roles are available, there's so many job boards out there. Terra actually just released a brand new job board that's available to everyone. But there's also a lot of other job boards out there that speak to different sectors within climate. Maybe you're a scientist and you're looking for more science-specific roles. There are science-specific job boards out there. One thing I want to highlight here too is these are all linked. You have the slides, so you can use this afterwards. But this fellow careers resource list is something that everyone has access to. And I've actually been fleshing out this document with climate job boards, with climate communities, and with climate job fairies, which I'll talk about in a minute. So this is just a snippet of some of the resources available. If you click on some of them, look at this one. It's like a whole spreadsheet of all these other things. So I really just want to share, there's so many resources out there. So definitely take advantage of them as you are kind of doing this research. And then lastly, another question that a lot of people ask at this phase in their climate job search is, how will I know if my work or the organization's work is truly making an impact on climate change? And so for that question, you'll really have to use the skills that you used during Terra to analyze, what is the footprint of this company? If it's an offsets company, are they actually doing what they need to be doing, or is it greenwashing? Asking those analytical questions is going to help you. And Project Drawdown also has a resource on how to analyze kind of the levels of impact. So this research and reflection is also going to help you identify what types of jobs you want to apply for before you even apply. And then, of course, comes the thing that that is going to be extremely impactful, but oftentimes people dislike the most, which is tailoring your application materials. So this is the most critical part, because as you do all this research, let's say you want to jump into networking with someone and they want to refer you to a job, they're going to ask you for your resume. Or if you find a job in that research phase that you absolutely love, you're going to need to have all this stuff put together to apply for it. So tailoring your application materials is absolutely a critical part of this. And it's important that you spend time doing this, but also getting feedback on it. So for your resume and cover letter, we also have some templates here, but you can find more online. Eric Lee is also a Terra alum, and he teaches a resume and cover letter workshop. So I've linked to the recording there. But using simple templates and Grammarly to make sure that you have no spelling errors is going to be really important in making sure you're putting your best foot forward. We also have these resume and cover letter templates that you can use. It's also really important to make sure that you're tailoring your content to the specific roles you're applying for. You can literally look at a job, pull out keywords, and integrate them into your resume and cover letter, and it's going to make those materials stand out stronger. Also, if you're applying for 3 types of roles, make sure that you're actually developing 3 types of resumes that speak to those different types of roles. Additionally, highlight relevant climate experience. So maybe that's your LFA class with Tara, like definitely put that on your resume and your LinkedIn. Or maybe you've worked on some climate volunteer projects. Definitely add those. And as I mentioned before, as you're making the shift into a new industry, having filler projects is going to be very helpful. And when I say filler, I mean literal like resume fillers that are taking up space on your resume, but are adding value because you've done climate relevant work. So that can be volunteer projects, it can be a research project, it could be, there's no shortage of how big or small it could be, but the fact of the matter is that it's relevant and it's gonna kind of help bridge the gap on your resume. In terms of your bullets and what you should include on your resume, you always want to make sure you're formatting it around what you did, how you did it, and what the outcome was. And definitely try to include percentages or statistics on if that's like business growth or monetary growth or anything like that. That's always going to help you as well. I'm just checking the chat really quick. Yes, the slides are shared in Slack right now. If you want to go there, you'll be able to open them up. And then, oh, cool. Thanks for sharing the link there. And then the job board list here. Let me just drop that in the chat right now so you have it as well. That is the Terra resource. And then this is another one that's really helpful too. Okay, great. So let me go back. Yeah, so in addition to your resume and cover letter, there is, I would say there is some of a movement to move away from cover letters. I think a lot of people are actually utilizing LinkedIn as the sub in for that, but it's not across the board. If any job application asks you for a cover letter or even lists it as optional, you absolutely should be ready to submit it. And so that being said, with LinkedIn, I do just want to share a little bit around here with your LinkedIn profile. There's a lot that you can do to make sure that it's actually that your climate story is coming across and that your top skills are most easily identified. So simple things like your custom banner, like your headline. This person did a really great job of including not only what they do right now, but what topics they're interested in. They've also included that they're a Terra Fellow. So something like this is a really great way of including your role, but also expanding on that and other services you can offer to people. He also includes, talks about design, climate action. These are all things that you can put there. And I think what he does a really great job in the about section is actually saying, if you're a climate focused startup or a larger company, or he actually identifies the sectors or the types of organizations he's targeting as a freelancer. And then he says, I can help you with all these things. So as a freelancer, he's having to position himself as, this is who I serve and this is what I can do for you. But you can do that no matter if you're looking for full-time work, part-time work, whatever it is. So this is a great way of including really a quick about me and the top skills. Additionally, in terms of having your LinkedIn together, having your profile tidied up is going to be really helpful, but you should definitely take it a step further in terms of networking on LinkedIn. So first step there is to follow people with large networks who are posting jobs regularly or just sharing resources. I like to call them job fairies. Interacting with those posts are going to make those posts appear more on your own newsfeed. But also, if you comment on those posts, that will actually draw other people to your profile as well. So following people and interacting with their posts and commenting on them is actually a way to draw more attention to your own profile, in addition to taking advantage of the resources that they are sharing. Definitely encourage everyone to literally connect with people on LinkedIn at least with 3 to 5 new people a week. And you definitely always want to send a message as to why you want to connect with them. And from there, once you're connected, you can use this as an opportunity to ask for an informational interview, connect with them on something they posted about, and just develop a stronger connection with them to expand your network. I also want to say flattery works. People are always excited to talk about their work, especially if you have something that you share with them. Maybe you went to the same school, maybe you're both Terra Fellows. People are always excited to share a shared background or share some of their story. So asking for a one-on-one or a virtual coffee with someone is a really great way to kind of get those informational interviews. And this can also lead to other warm introductions and referrals to jobs. Additionally, what I want to say here is this also, all of this networking can be done from a very regenerative lens. You can definitely ask people for virtual coffees and ask them all sorts of questions, but by the end of the conversation, make sure you're also leading with, how can I help you? Or is there anything that I can do to support your work? And that will also develop a regenerative relationship here. So that's why I always say lead with curiosity to build this relationship, and then ask for a referral maybe down the line. Some people might just give you a referral off the bat, but I'd say it's always a better practice to try to build a relationship with someone so they can also develop trust, and then give a referral that way. And lastly, it's always really great to leave meaningful comments on other people's posts. And what I mean by meaningful comment is, if someone posted a resource or shared a win that they had, you can always hit that like button, or you can leave a comment that says, congratulations, this is something that really helped me in my journey, really excited to follow along in yours. And something like that, if you are adding value, if you're adding your own personal experience, that is, again, something that will draw people to your profile. Other people that are seeing that comment are going to see that and say, oh, what does this person do? And it just opens up more and more avenues for people to come to your profile and connect with you, even while you are doing all this outreach yourself. So it's kind of that two-way street that you're creating by leaving meaningful comments. And then, of course, with your story, this is something that we went over today, but to add to what the framework we use today, when you're talking about who you help, you can also talk about what is the difference that you make for them. And in addition, kind of adding in, what are your top 3 skills there? And then with networking, I really want to share too that LinkedIn research found that 70% of people who were hired at a company had a connection there. And this was from a study done in 2016. Another thing is that some companies don't even post jobs. They just hire directly through their network. So networking is so, so important. And of course, you can do this on LinkedIn, but you can also do it through Terra. You're already connected with this amazing cohort. You've already made a ton of friends here. So use this network to help you expand. You can also join, there's all sorts of other climate communities listed here and in that other worksheet that I shared. And then when you join these communities, actually talk to people, message people on Slack, join online groups. You can also attend climate conferences. And if you're not sure what to say, I also want to share that in this Notion page, there's also some networking resources here. So there's a how-to on informational interviews, and there's also a resource on sending effective outreach messages. And then, of course, comes applying to jobs. Consistency is super important. Make sure that you're applying to a steady amount of jobs per week, and also diversify where and how you're applying to jobs. Make sure you're using multiple job boards so you'll have access to more opportunities, and also see if you can get referrals to jobs instead of just cold applying to all of them. Maximize your network, see if you can get warm introductions to people or companies. And also, to kind of help manage all of this, try time blocking. So you can literally, maybe in the morning, you do 30 minutes on LinkedIn, and then you do an hour of job searching later. Something like that can help you kind of stay consistent. So with that, I will just very quickly go over the careers course, and then I want to make sure we have time for questions at the end. I know I covered a lot of material. So very briefly, just want to highlight here that everything that I have gone through today is exactly what we will teach you and coach you through in this Terra Careers course. This course will open up in February 13th, actually, I think right after you all graduate. So it's kind of a perfect add-on right after you graduate. If you are actively going to be applying to jobs, this course is going to help you through that process. So the way that it's organized is very similar to LFA. It takes you through 9 sets of action-oriented modules designed to accelerate your job search. Week 1 is focused on the opportunity of climate jobs. And then we kind of cover all of these different topics. And by the end, we actually will take you through engaging and activating your network and getting tactical with the job search. Part of this is also an entire resume, cover letter, LinkedIn refresh, getting feedback on all of that. And the way that it's organized is that this is a 4-week course. And once a week, there will be one live lab session similar to how you're experiencing it now, where you get to come together with your classmates and tackle specific job search topics. So you're getting feedback, you're sharing resources, you're practicing your story, all sorts of things there. And I do want to share that this course is, again, it's extremely tactical. The purpose of this course is in 4 weeks to get you interview ready. And that's how this course was designed. You'll have access to a variety of course resources to help you through this. You'll have the modules. You also will have a climate job search workbook that we've designed to be with this course that allows you to kind of go through weekly activities, brainstorm, research, do some introspection, all of those things. And then you'll also have Slack and a weekly mastermind call that helps you navigate and work through all of this as well. In that workbook, there is a weekly checklist to kind of help you stay organized of what do I need to get through. And in terms of the course outcomes, by the end of the course, what we are offering everyone is that you will have identified your non-negotiables. You'll have found climate solution areas of interest. You'll have written your about me statement and built your strongest resume, cover letter, and LinkedIn. You'll have developed a better understanding of how to tailor your resumes and pull out keywords for the jobs you want to apply for. You'll also get feedback on your materials. And you'll identify companies and jobs you want to target. You'll map your network. And you will actually have prepared your materials, your story, and yourself to be interview ready. So that being said, if you are interested in signing up for the careers course, I will drop that link here. And what I also want to share is that this is free. This is a free add-on to Learning for Action. And so many people come out of Learning for Action with the goal of, I want to pivot into climate. But so many people come back to Terra saying, I don't know how, or, how do you do this? How do you do that? So this course was 100% designed with the feedback of Learning for Action fellows. It was designed for you all, with you all, and is designed to help you become interview ready to land a climate job. So yeah, so if you want to sign up, the sign up is open there. This course starts on February 13th. So you have, I think, probably up until the week before then to sign up for this. And in terms of those weekly events, you'll be putting in your time availability and we'll pick a time slot that works for everyone. So with that, I think that's everything that I have to share. I know that I went through a lot, but I'll pause there and it's open to any questions. If you have questions about the job search, about the program, anything. Awesome. Ian, your question on how frequently will that course run? Currently, we're running it right now, and then we have it running in February. I think there's a pretty high likelihood we're going to run it again. I just don't know how often. It's probably going to happen a few more times, but at this point, I can't give you the dates on it, but I can say it will happen again.
I have a question. Have you started using the ChatGPT to tailor resumes to job postings?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I have been hearing, there's been a lot of chatter about ChatGPT in the career coaching world. And I have like two thoughts on it. So one is that absolutely it's an awesome resource. There's anything that can help you streamline the amount of time you're putting into writing your resume and cover letter. I would say go for it and use it. The tricky thing there is that what I have observed though is that what it spits out is not actually always the best. So what I would advise is if you're using it, you can use it, but make sure you're then taking some time to tailor it or read through it and make sure that it's actually an accurate representation of your skills and what you're looking for. Because that's what no machine can tell you that for you. So I think it's a useful tool. There's also a few other like AI cover letter generators and things like that, which are great tools to use, but make sure you're spending some time tailoring it further and just ensuring that it's actually the accurate representation of who you are.
Thanks.
Mhm. Vandana, this is a good question. Will the course also teach you how to pitch yourself for a climate role that does not yet exist in your organization? At this point, the course isn't designed exactly for that, but we are teaching you how to tell your story. So I think that that could absolutely be applicable to this as well. And that being said, we're in the early stages of running this course. The February cohort's only going to be the second one. So that's actually amazing. And we could integrate that. Like we could just put that into the course and have that be a component. If that's something people are interested in, we could integrate that. Thanks for sharing. That's a really good suggestion too.
Do you have an idea of when the time slots are going to get figured out for this? Just when we should expect to hear on that?
Yeah, I think likely within the next 2 weeks. So the registration is still open. So we're just trying to make sure we can get as many people registered and then pick the time slot that works for most. So I think probably by February 1st or like the first week of February, we'll be sending out confirmations and just letting people know what that time slot will be.
Okay.
Ariane, the great thing is that this course is free, 100% free. It is an add-on to Learning for Action. So because you're already a fellow, you get access to this. And Vandana, I believe so. I believe all applicants will get accepted. The only thing here is that if you can't attend the live sessions, like if we end up picking a time slot that works for the majority and it doesn't work for you, you will still have access to the recordings and everything. But I think the experience might be a little different if you can't attend the live sessions. But at this point, yes, all applicants will get accepted. Yeah, and Vandana, if you applied, like we've got your info. Cool.
I'm curious if someone in the current cohort can't do this session, but wanted to do a future one, would it still be free or would it then have a cost?
I believe it will still be available to you for free. I will have to confirm, but I'm pretty sure it will be.
I just clicked the link to the type form and it says that it's now closed.
Oh no, let me check on that.
I'll try clicking from my other.
Oh, what? Okay, that is very strange. I'll fix that and send it in Slack, but it's not closed. You can register, but I will get that fixed right after this.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any other questions, or does anyone want to share anything about kind of where they are in their own job search, any challenges you've been experiencing? Happy to talk about that too.
I have just a question for you. So was the fact that you went into coaching and sort of independent career track, was it something that you made from the beginning, or did you decide at some point that instead of working for a company, you would just want to be working for yourself?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, so I would say like very much part of my journey, there's been burnout, there's been like just like unhealthy workplace culture. So when I actually took Terra a year ago, I quit my job in April of 2021 and was on this whole like soul searching journey of like I am in a lot of hurt and like where do I go next? And that's really where I found the environment as a healing factor. And so that's how I found Terra. And as I was navigating the entire course, I had that moment where I was like, okay, I've healed and like now I'm gonna go back to a full-time job. So I did the whole thing of I applied to jobs. I had 15 interviews in 3 months with like 4 companies. It was absolutely absurd. One company interviewed me 7 times. I like did the whole thing. And through that entire process, I was reflecting again. I was like, okay, is a full-time job really the place that I want to be? Is that actually the place where I'm going to continue to find healing? Because turns out I wasn't completely healed. There was still a lot of work that I had to do. So I very much was like in that process of let me apply to jobs, let me do all this stuff. And I actually started career coaching in January of this year. So I'm career coaching through this whole process while applying to full-time jobs, really exploring every single option available to me. And it finally got to a point where I did all of those interviews. I met all of these people. I talked to all these organizations, and none of them were quite meeting my needs at the end of the day. Every single one was like, okay, it could be cool. It could be a great opportunity. But I actually had been sitting on this idea of starting my own consulting practice for over a year. And I will just say it took all of that for me to be like, okay, I'm going to take a chance on myself and I'm going to build something for myself. So it's like everyone's journey is like so different. But and for me, it literally took 15 job interviews for me to be like, you know what? I don't think I want this. So that's kind of how I got to where I am now.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. Cool. Yeah, it seems like lots of people relate.
Thank you for sharing all that. I saw all of us nodding our heads. At the risk of being vulnerable on recording, I've found myself looking at various jobs and just my heart's not in it, because it's like I'm at the beginning of the reflection process, and this add-on
Yes.
sounds absolutely like what I need. But I fell behind in the coursework for LFA because I had some requests from LinkedIn come into my schedule in December, and one of them was for a job that was like, we're going to tell you when the vacation is. We're going to go to this model where we all take our vacation at the same time. And I was kind of like, oh.
Whoa.
You're all shaking your heads. So what am I trying to say? Like, I felt like I really wanted to focus on the coursework and learning for action, and the reflection is better spent after. So that the idea of an add-on course sounds really attractive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for your vulnerability. I think it's like the job search is really hard, and it's like, again, it's almost that the tension between like what can I control and what can I not control, but what do I want? That's like sits right in the middle, you know? So yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
doing the assignment 3, where it was like, try find some jobs you want. Just looking at the job posting, I started like panicking. It was like, I do not want to do these things. Like going to a tech company, and like I was just like, I just don't. And it took stepping back and saying, okay, what organization would I want to look at to start feeling better about it? So yeah, I think we all have a lot of emotions tied up in work at this point.
It's so true. I mean, how can you not? It's like all of this is a highly emotional thing now. So yeah. Awesome. Well, we are at time. Or Ariane, do you have a question?
Oh, I was just gonna say that I feel like that there are so many resources that we have access to thanks to Tara, but sometimes it can feel overwhelming trying to keep up with the course and the assignments.
Yeah.
And there's that mentorship program that it feels like we're like missing out on because we're not like tapping into, and I love the fact that we can access it like 3 months after the
Mhm.
course, but also in thinking about when this course starts, like, yeah, just like thinking about that experience of maybe even having time to digest what we just went through before we like
Mhm.
start the add-on course.
Mhm.
I'm not sure, I heard a conversation around timing before. But yeah, that's just one thing that I was feeling. I don't know if anybody in the room is feeling similarly, or sometimes maybe someone else is like, I just want to keep the momentum and I don't want any
Mhm.
time in between.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely, and I think that's why, once we get the calendar updated of like when the other sessions will be, you will have access to those. But the cool thing too is that this add-on is open to fellows outside of the Xerus cohort as well. So definitely for you all, I totally understand. It feels like it's like coming on right after, but it is kind of open to a lot of other previous cohorts as well. So that's why we've kind of had to time it that way. But yeah, that being said, I think it will be run in the future. We just have to figure out the timing for that. So if you don't sign up for, you know what, and I'll also try to see if I can get an answer on that soon, so you actually have an idea of when that will come. But yeah, that being said, we are at time. And so I just want to make sure that I'm letting people go on time, but just want to say thank you so much. This was such a awesome session and really enjoyed speaking with each of you. I'm in the Terra community, so like if you ever want to connect with me, I'm here, and I'm also teaching the careers course. I don't know if I said that. So you'll be hearing directly from me if you sign up for that as well. So yeah, just want to say thank you so much, everyone. And I'll drop the sign up link, the recording, and the slides in Slack as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Have a
much.
good
This has been
one.
great.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.